The night cracked open with red and blue light, and in that flashing chaos, everything I thought I knew about myself was stripped bare. Rain smeared the windshield like tears that refused to fall, and my heart pounded hard enough to feel criminal on its own. I remember thinking how strange it was that a single sentence, spoken by a stranger in uniform, could mark the exact moment a life began to change forever. Fear, shame, hope, and something dangerously close to faith all collided in that instant, on a quiet highway in Ohio where no one expected a miracle to show up wearing a badge. Before the story pulls you deeper, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you believe kindness can rewrite a person's future and that everyone deserves a second chance. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that may need them most. My name is Michael Turner, and at 34, I was carrying the invisible weight of 1,000 small failures. I worked nights at a warehouse outside Columbus, loading trucks until my back screamed and my spirit went quiet. Life had narrowed into a routine of exhaustion, overdue bills, and memories of a marriage that dissolved under financial pressure and unspoken resentments. I wasn't a bad man, but I was tired, and that kind of tired seeps into your bones until hope feels irresponsible. That night, I was driving home later than usual, lost in thought, when the flashing lights appeared behind me, slicing through the darkness like judgment. The officer who stepped out of the cruiser moved with calm authority, her posture steady even as the rain soaked her uniform. Her name, I would later learn, was Rebecca Collins. She was in her early 40s, with eyes that held both steel and compassion, a combination that unsettled me more than anger ever could. As procedure unfolded, my nerves betrayed me. I fumbled with documents, my hands shaking not because I had done anything wrong, but because life had trained me to expect punishment even when I didn't deserve it. When she explained that she needed to conduct a brief search for safety reasons, something broke open inside me. It wasn't defiance or flirtation that rose in me, but desperation dressed as humor, a reflex from a man who had forgotten how to ask for kindness honestly. The thought that crossed my mind was reckless and absurd, yet it came from a place of aching loneliness. In that moment, instead of shrinking, I stood exposed in a different way, emotionally raw, and my attempt at levity landed like a prayer thrown into the dark. I wasn't asking to be charming. I was asking to be seen. Rebecca didn't react the way I expected. There was no anger, no mockery, no cold dismissal. There was a pause, heavy and human, during which the rain seemed to hold its breath. She looked at me not as a suspect or a statistic, but as a man standing at the edge of himself. The search proceeded professionally, respectfully, and when it was over, she explained the reason for the stop, issued a warning, and wished me safety. But before she returned to her cruiser, something in her eyes softened, as if she recognized a familiar kind of exhaustion. That encounter should have ended there, just another strange moment filed away in memory. But days later, I found myself thinking about her calm presence, the way she carried her authority without cruelty. It stirred something long dormant, a reminder that decency still existed in places I had stopped looking. Weeks passed, and by chance or providence, our paths crossed again at a small community food drive where I volunteered on weekends, trying to quiet the guilt of my own relative stability by helping others. Rebecca was there too, out of uniform, organizing donations with quiet efficiency. Seeing her without the badge made her seem more human, and maybe it made me braver. We spoke then, not in dramatic confessions but in simple truths about work, fatigue, and the strange weight of responsibility. She shared that she had lost her husband years earlier to a sudden illness, that she stayed on the force because it gave her a sense of purpose when grief threatened to hollow her out. I shared my own quiet failures, the marriage that ended not in betrayal but in erosion, the constant fear of never being enough. What grew between us was not romance at first, but recognition. Two people who had learned to stand upright under invisible burdens found relief in being understood. We met for coffee after volunteer shifts, then for walks along the Scioto River, where the water reflected the sky like a second chance. Rebecca carried the discipline of her profession into her personal life, cautious but sincere, and I carried a renewed willingness to hope, even when it scared me. The real challenge came not from the outside world, but from within. I struggled with the feeling that I didn't deserve happiness, that someone as strong and grounded as Rebecca would eventually see through me and walk away. She faced her own fears, the worry that letting someone close would reopen wounds she had carefully stitched together. There were moments of distance, of silence heavy with unspoken doubt, but each time, we chose honesty over retreat. One winter evening, after a long shift left her drained and emotionally raw from a call involving a lost child, Rebecca leaned into me and cried without explanation. In that moment, I understood that strength does not mean being unbreakable. It means trusting someone enough to let them see the cracks. Holding her, I felt a purpose deeper than survival. I felt useful in a way that no paycheck had ever provided. Our lives didn't magically transform into perfection. Bills still came. Work remained exhausting. The world continued to be unpredictable and unfair. But something essential had changed. We faced the days together, sharing meals, laughter, and quiet prayers before sleep. Faith, which had once felt distant to me, returned in small ways, not through grand declarations but through gratitude for ordinary mornings and safe returns home. Years later, standing in a modest church in a small Ohio town, surrounded by friends from the community we served, I realized how close I had come to missing this life. How one moment of fear on a rain-soaked road had turned into a doorway instead of a dead end. Rebecca stood beside me, no badge, no armor, just a woman who had chosen love without surrendering herself. When the pastor spoke about grace finding us in unexpected places, I felt every word settle into my chest like truth finally at home. But if this story has touched something deep inside you, if it reminded you that kindness can appear when we least expect it and change everything, please take a moment now to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement tells us these stories matter, and it helps spread hope to others who may feel lost in their own storms. Before the final moments fade, we have a special request for you. Please comment the word grace if you believe that second chances are real and that love can arrive in the most unlikely ways. Today, Rebecca still serves her community, and I still work hard, but our lives are no longer defined by what we lack. They are defined by what we give. Every time I see flashing lights in the distance, I remember that night not with fear, but with gratitude. Because sometimes, the search we resist the most is the one that uncovers the best parts of who we are.